The J. Michael Show.
It's another episode of the J. Michael Show. Hello, thank you for joining us. I got a wonderful guest for us. We're going to get to her in just a moment. But first, let me remind you, I need you to subscribe, follow, like, hit all those little buttons that give you notifications and subscriptions and wherever you're getting it from, audio and video or just audio. And we really appreciate it when you subscribe to the show. Nicole Mikell is my guest today, and we're going to be talking about her books. She's an author. She will go in all of that for us. So let's say hello to Nicole. Hi, Nicole.
Hey, how are you?
I'm doing good. So glad you could join us and be on the show today.
I'm super excited. This is my first time doing any kind of podcast, talk show thing, so I'm super excited.
Oh, wow. Okay,
Yep.
Your first
time.
one. Well, we'll try to make it as easy as possible.
All right, sounds good to me.
Okay, all right. So your book is, let me get my phone here to come back on. It went off. Your book is Baby, It's You, right? Tell me
Yes.
about that book.
So Baby It's You is the first book of mine in a series I created called the Clairesville series. It's a small town romance series, and Baby It's You follows Olive, who's a bartender at a local dive bar, and Hunter, who's a skateboarder that also films and has a YouTube channel. And it follows their story of how they meet. And at the same time, they're also trying to save the bar because the bar is at risk of being sold, and Olive loves that place. It's her home. And so it's all just their journey to come together. And the bar has lots of stories mixed in with it as well. So it's near and dear to me, that book, because it is my first book, obviously. But one of the main characters in it, Jane, she is the elderly bar owner. And I actually based her off my grandma, who I lost last year. And so it was really near and dear to my heart to write the character, and it was kind of therapeutic too, to, get to talk about Jane. And my grandma's name was Betty, but I changed the name and based the character off of her. So it was a nice tribute to her.
All right. And the book takes place in Tennessee. Is that where you live?
Yeah, so I live in Florida, actually. I grew up, my dad was in the military, so we moved all the time. And out of all the places I lived, I loved Memphis. I was there for a couple years, and I don't know why, but Tennessee's just always had a special place in my heart. I loved it there. We had snow, we had, winter seasons, we had heat, and now I'm in Florida where it's just hot all the time. And so I'm like, I miss the mountains, I miss snow, I miss all of that, but I love Tennessee.
Now you have another book that will be coming up December 2nd, it drops.
Yes.
Tell me about that book that's to come.
So the second book it's Olive, who's the main character in the first book. It's her best friend. And so that story is following her love, life developing and her struggles and her story. And Olive is kind of a mess in the first book. I call her a hot mess because she's crazy. Her boyfriend cheated on her. She smashed his windshield. She's kind of a mess. And so that was why I also named it You Can't Hurry Love, my second book, because it takes her a while to get there, but Olive finally, hopefully gets her happy ending. So, Ivy. So Olive and Ivy, the two best friends, but Ivy's book too.
Okay, so now my wife is telling me she's an ARC reader and she's read several of all of your books so far. And there's something about your books, how they tie into music titles. Talk to me about that.
Yeah, so I love music. I know most people love music. Obviously, it lightens your mood. It makes you feel better. But the whole time that I write, I am inspired by music. And so I listen to music while I write, and I use it to draw inspiration from. And I really love the oldies. I love lots of, Motown, and I love metal. I love old rock. And so all the books in the Clairesville series will all have an oldie song title. So Baby It's You was an oldie song. You Can't Hurry Love is the Supremes, so I kind of draw from that. And I do a playlist with each book that you can listen to on Spotify. I love to just connect music with each story.
Oh, wow. Amazing. Amazing. Okay. So you have two books. Your one that's coming out in December, one that's already out now. Um, do you already have projected what you're going to do next?
Yes, so I am currently writing my third book. I am about 25% in, and I write every morning. I'm very strict with my schedule that I give myself. So I wake up every morning before my kids get up at 5:30 in the morning, and I write a chapter before they get up, and then I, slowly make progress because obviously I'm a mother of three, so during the day it's not really possible for me to write, but I always want to keep writing because I love doing it. So I wake up early, I write, and then I have my whole day after that.
Do you already have all of the characters for this next book, and maybe even beyond that, what's going to happen to them?
Yes, know every character's story. I have it all mapped up, and my friends, they've tried to guess what will happen next for some of the characters, and I'm like, I'm not going to tell you. I have one friend that she lets me tell her spoilers and bounce ideas off of, which I love her. Shout out to you, Jesse. But everyone else, I'm like, I'm not telling you spoilers. So I have everything mapped out. It's going to be a 5-book series, and everything all the way to the last character's story and who's together I have already plotted out.
So, how did your journey to becoming a writer? How did this begin? When did you start?
So when I was younger, as a kid, I would always write stories, but I also have a wild case of ADHD, so I would never finish them. I would start a random story about a girl and when I was, in middle school, and her boyfriend broke up with her, and then just never go back to it. But I always had these little random stories I would write. And I went to an arts high school for a year, and I was in film there. And so we would do writing and screenplays and all kinds of stuff like that. And I realized I love to tell stories. Mm-hmm. I would force my siblings to tell stories or do like filming with me when I was little. I'd take my parents' video camera and I would tell them what they had to do. I used to make all kinds of crazy stories and make them act it out. So I always was kind of like the director. I always enjoyed making a storyline and watching it, come to fruition. So writing has given me that. This past year, again, the story, I was really inspired by losing my grandma. So with that, I kind of got an idea and I just started to write, and then the story developed from there. And I was like, oh, I might actually like try to publish this. This is fun. So it started there, and now it's to the point where if I don't write each day, I feel like I need to get it out. Like I have to write. Like it's something that now that I've found it, I don't want to backtrack because I love it so much.
Right. You talked about publishing. Do you publish yourself? I mean, are you an indie author, or do you
Yes.
have a publishing company or somebody you go through to put all of that together?
I do it all myself. At first I did submit to agents for a while. I think I did about 50 submissions, and I just kept researching it. And I had one submission that I almost went through with. That was an approval from an agent, but I just didn't know if it was the right situation for me. So I was like, okay, well, if I want to do this, I'm going to try to do this by myself. And so I did that, and I studied everything online. I did tons of research. It was trial and error. There's definitely many tears, but I figured it out. And I'm like, now that I know the skill, I was super proud of myself. I know how to format a book. I know how to, write it. I do have an editor because every author needs an editor. Like,
right.
You need an editor, but everything else I figured out how to do my own. So it's something that I learned a new skill, which it was nice to.
And then you have these ARC readers, people who proof it for you, and do they find things in it occasionally that they send you and they say, oh, wait a minute, you need to change this. And so I guess that's good input, right?
Yeah, so mostly with the beta readers, which they're like your little testers, like they are the ones that will see my book in the beginning when it's pretty bad off. And that's before, it's been professionally edited. So there's definitely stuff in it that needs to be cut out or stuff added to make the story flow a little bit better. So they are the ones I usually will give about 10 to 15 questions to have them answer after they read it. And they're the ones that I really take a lot of input from because they're the first eyes that have ever seen it. And so then after it goes to my editor, I then we'll have the ARC readers read it. And so by then it should be like a completely edited, ready to go book, like it's going on the market. But every once in a while there might be an ARC reader that, you know, might point out something small. But for the most part, the beta readers they're the real MVPs because they're doing giving me all the feedback and the criticism that I need. And the ARC readers are more just like, oh, like this is fun. Like we just get to rate the book. So the beta readers are the best for authors.
Wow. Are you involved in creating the artwork for the cover and such?
So I have a cover artist that I use, but I'm very hands-on and I know what I want. So I will send, his name's Gotham. I will send him a exact worked up like image that I will make where I will put a shadow where I want the characters, how I want them posed. I'll send him a whole screen board of what I want their face to look like, what I want their outfits to be, everything. So I tell him what I want, and then he just does an amazing job of making it happen.
Wow. Are there reoccurring themes or messages that you find yourself returning to with your work? Do you keep something kind of reoccurring within the books?
I would definitely say with this series, definitely, I do a lot because it's all in the same kind of friend group. And so even when the main character from the previous story may not be the focus of the story, they're still in the background. And so it's kind of like this family that has, found family situation where they all come together and they're all feeding off of each other's stories a little bit. So I would definitely say with this series and with music, there's music in every one. On my second book, every chapter is a song title as the chapter title.
Right.
So music is just a very heavy influence, and then so that will always be there.
Yeah.
I know some people don't like music in books, but I love it. So if people like music in books, my books are the ones to read because they've got a lot of different types of music in it.
So give me an idea of what a chapter title would be, and then the song that is associated with it.
Yes. I also have kind of a dark sense of humor sometimes. And so there is one chapter, without giving it away too much, where a character has an allergic reaction, which I am severely allergic to. I have food allergies. And so I kind of based it off of my experience. And so the chapter title is Harder to Breathe. It's a Maroon 5 song. So it plays off of that. Like it gives you a little taste of like what's going to happen in this chapter, but also it's not like super obvious, like, oh, someone's going to have an allergy attack. So I do different stuff like that. And then if there's like a scene where they go to a dance club or something, even if I don't mention what the song is in that chapter, it will still be the song title. So they know like, oh, that's the music playing in the background.
Wow. I think that's fascinating that your chapter titles are song titles, and then I guess you're listening to that song as you are writing that chapter. Is that how it works?
Yep.
Okay. Well, tell me about your writing process. Do you have any other unusual, habits or rituals when you're writing?
So I will sit. I have a little couch in the front room of our house that reclines out. So I'll sit in that couch. I have to have a blanket. I have to have my headphones on with music. I have to have something to drink that'll keep me awake. So either coffee or an energy drink, which is not the best, I know, but it's also 5:30 in the morning. So, and then I will always do that. I need to be comfy. If I don't have a blanket and I'm not with my headphones on, I cannot focus. Those two things are a must for me.
Wow. Yeah, that's just that. I loved your process. I love how you described that. Which part of writing do you find most rewarding, and which part is the hardest?
Most rewarding is probably when after I finish my first draft, I go back and I reread the whole first draft. And as I go through, I start to make little changes. And I know some people don't enjoy editing, but I love it. I love going in and sprinkling a little bit more, expression on top or taking something away that doesn't serve its purpose. So I love doing that. My least favorite part would definitely be the blurb, the back cover blurb. That's the bane of every author's existence because you have to take it from, 70 to 90,000 words and somehow sum it up on the back cover, make it interesting, and make it so people want to read your book without giving away any spoilers. So the blurb is the hardest part by far.
Wow. Yeah. Have you ever had readers interpret your work in a way that surprised you, that wasn't exactly what you were going for?
I think when I first started getting feedback from my first book, I felt like the story was emotional, Baby It's You, because I related it to, my grandma and everything, but I didn't think that other people reading it would be moved. But I've had a lot of people message me and tell me they were crying their eyes out.
Wow.
And so I was amazed that I could move someone with my words, because I did not think I could ever do that. And so knowing that I touched someone, or I made them, laugh one minute and cry the next, in a good way, because we love that as readers. We love to cry when we read a book. So I think the fact that something I just invented in my head moved people to that extent was the best feeling.
Wow. When we're getting back to the music thing, because I think that's fascinating. Do you encourage people to listen to the song as they're reading the chapter?
Yeah. So what I'll do is I have my book here. I have every book in my series has like a little reader's note, which you might not be able to see it, but it basically just says that music plays a large role, and then it has a scannable code. So when the people read, they can scan that code, and then they can get to the Spotify playlist and listen to it as the chapters go. So I personally, what I'll do is I will usually listen to it before I go into the chapter, and then read the chapter. Because I know I personally can't read and listen at the same time, which is funny, because I know a lot of people can read, and listen to music, but I listen to music and write. So I encourage people, if they like music, to do it. If they don't enjoy music, just skip over it, keep reading it anyway. But it's a little touch for the people that enjoy the musical aspect.
I could see where it could get distracting. You're listening to the lyrics of this song, and yet you're reading what's happening with these characters. I just find that a fascinating way that you blend the two together in your books. Well, what's next? What are you working on right now?
So right now I'm writing the third book in the series. It follows a character that you will meet in book 2. The character is not really in it until the second book, so I can't really talk about them yet, but it is that character's story, because their book, the second book, ends on a little bit of a cliffhanger, and it's their journey and their growth and their chance to have a happy ending too.
Wow. Okay. You had mentioned earlier that you are very allergic to lime. Is there other things that you're very allergic to?
Yeah, I'm super allergic to lime and shellfish. Basically every animal out there, anything with fur, but I have 2 dogs anyway, so I just take allergy medicine. But if there's an animal that has fur, I'm allergic to them. I have tons of allergies.
Oh, wow. Okay. All right. Anything else about you that maybe you would want your readers to know, that your allergies or whatever?
I'm trying to think. I mean, I'm a mom. I know a lot of people find reading as an escape if they're parents, or, kind of to get out of your situation and live a little bit. I know there was times before I started writing where I'd have a super hard day as a mother with 3 crazy little kids, and I would go in my room and shut the door after I put them to bed and just zone out on a book, and it would just make me feel better. So I want to be that author for other readers. I want to be the person where you can just block out everything else going on in your life and focus on the story and be like, oh, wow, like I'm transported to this other world. And I want to feel like, a reader can find my stories as like a type of home to them, since I really focus on the characters and making them feel real.
Do you enjoy the marketing aspect of getting your book out there?
That's tough. Yeah. Marketing is really tough, especially when you're an indie author, because you have to constantly think of different ideas and videos, and you have to be, the funniest, the most interesting, the most relatable, you have to be everything, when in all actuality, we're just awkward hermits that like to write and, hide behind a screen. And so I have to find a way to put myself out there and be like, please choose my book, read my book, without it being, like obvious and being begging. And I want to come across and tell readers like, go love my book, but I also don't want to say, please read my book, I need you to read it. So, it's a fine balance learning how to promote yourself as an indie author, but also not come off as distasteful, I would say, because there's a lot of authors that will just try to, push out their content. And I don't want to do, guilt marketing or anything, but I do want to really push as hard as I can to market my books because I worked hard on them and I believe in them and I love them. So,
right. What tools do you use that you enjoy using to help promote and market your book?
So I use Instagram. That's been an awesome thing for me. I have PR girls that I've started working with through Instagram that are amazing too. They've made it so much smoother of a process for me. I also do TikTok where I just try to do silly videos, and TikTok's a tough one sometimes, but Instagram has been my main source of finding readers and finding kind of my crowd.
Do you find marketing not only the book, but marketing yourself as an author is easy or hard?
I would say it's definitely hard.
Yeah.
I will say that before I was in my 30s, I was very unsure of myself and very worried. And now that I'm married, I'm a mother, I'm kind of just like, you know what, take me as I am. You're either going to like me and you're going to like my content and you're going to like my books, or you won't. And so I will say that I've definitely grown confidence in myself to put myself out there more, because years ago I would have never wrote a book. And it's a really hard thing to know that people that you grew up with, or people that might not like you, or situations like that, they're gonna all have their eyes on your book if they want to, and that's really nerve-wracking. But I just I told myself I'm gonna do this, and I'm gonna find the right people that will enjoy my books. And if not, if someone doesn't enjoy it, if they leave a bad review, then I'm just not the author for them. But that's not going to stop me at this point in my life. I'm going to do something that brings me a lot of joy.
I find this fascinating in talking to a lot of different authors on this show. So I'm going to ask you the same question I asked them. Are you an introvert or an extrovert?
So I would say that I'm an introverted extrovert, because I would rather be at home most of the time, and I would rather just hang out, with my small group of friends. But I also do love, we host a lot of theme parties, and I run a book club at my house. So when it comes to stuff like that with my friends, I am extroverted. If you're the right type of person in my circle, you recharge my battery. But if I have to go in a public situation, where there's tons of people, I'm definitely drained. I am not. That's when I'm like, oh, I'm an introvert. Take me home, please. So I'm a little bit of both, I would say.
What kind of books do you read? What influences what you write?
I read a little bit of everything. I mostly read fantasy and thrillers, actually, which is funny because I write romance. But I read everything, honestly, except I don't really read self-help books. I'm not really into nonfiction. I love true crime. I will read that. But everything else, I feel like the first thing I'll pick up is a thriller or a romantasy book.
Do you think that you might one day step out of the romantic genre and write something like a thriller or a crime novel?
I'll never say never. I know those are a lot of a darker headspace to have to get into, because obviously you're researching very heavy topics. And right now I feel like where I kind of thrive in my writing is using my humor and my personality kind of coming through in the writing. So I don't know how I would do writing a thriller, but I'll never say never, because a year and a half ago I never would write a book, and I did it. So there's always a possibility.
So stepping way out of your comfort zone, would you write something like fantasy or science fiction?
I would love to write fantasy one day. I definitely feel like fantasy is a very difficult space to get into, because there's so much world building, and everything is something you have to completely make up, and these rules you have to kind of make for your world, and then you have to stick to them and make all these things click together. But I would love to do it one day. So if I can tackle romance and do it well, then maybe I already have fantasy ideas, so maybe one day I will try.
So if you did write something that was fantasy, would you go hobbits, or would you go Dune or something like that?
The one I have the storyline, it's the one I've created so far. It's vampires, but it's not like what you would think where it'd be like, teenage vampires, like kind of I love Twilight, but not that kind of like cheesy. It would definitely be adult content. But I have ideas to do like a vampire series, and I would love to do that.
Your romantic novels, do you ever get really spicy with it?
Yeah, so the first book I kept the spice out because again, it was based on my grandma. I dedicated it to her, and I was not going to do that to my grandma and her legacy and her memory. So my second book does have spice, and I have told my parents I do not want them to read it.
Are you embarrassed? Do you think that it would reveal something about you that you don't want them to know?
No, I mean, I'm a mother of 3, so I think they know what my life is like, but I don't know. It's just still that part of me. I was raised Catholic, and so everything was always very, proper, and showing that side in a book is just kind of crazy to think about. Being like, Mom, Dad, I wrote this, read this now. They read my first book. But I don't know. I'll see. Maybe I'll give my mom a warning, like, don't read this chapter, this one, and this, and then you're good on everything else.
How important is comedy in your book? Do you like writing comedy sections in them?
I definitely love comedy. I'm always joking around with my friends. I love old comedy. I love raunchy comedy. My husband and I just watched The Naked Gun last night. I love just slapstick, silly stuff. So I use humor in it a lot. That's kind of, I actually had a reader leave a review saying that my book, every time it would get romantic, it would lead to humor after. And I'm like, well, wait, I like humor. So like, that's good for me. So I definitely use a lot of humor in it.
You said you watched The Naked Gun, the old one or the new one?
Yeah, the old one. I haven't seen the new one yet. I want to go through and have us watch all the old ones before we see the new one, because I feel like the oldest ones are always, the best, the classics. It's kind of like the remakes are never as good, I feel like. So
yeah. Okay, so your books, have you ever considered how they would look if they were a television show or a movie?
Yeah, my aunt is actually a producer. She used to work in Hollywood, and she does film now. She has her own production company, and so she's always said, I am similar to her where I really can like picture a story, and she was always very good at, making stuff come to life, a vision she had in her head, and film it out for people. And so I feel like I'm the same way. Everything I write, I want it to feel like it's a movie in your mind. I want you to be able to picture what color the shirt is, what the gravel feels like when they step on it, what smells you have when you go into a room. I want you to sense everything so you can picture it in your mind.
Do you think that you might want to write a screenplay for your aunt or for someone?
That would be cool one day. That's definitely more complex, especially because I'm a film school dropout in high school. I only went to 1 year of film school, but I one day I would love to, do some type of series with it if it ever got there. I have tried to make the characters, again, as realistic as possible, and that's a comment I get a lot, is your characters felt real to me. I pictured it like a movie in my mind, and that's all very important to me. It's not a storyline ever that I'm going to write in the series where the guy is, a billionaire and he comes and Cinderella saves the girl and takes her away from, it's always going to be characters where you feel like you can know them.
And when you write something specific like that, are you writing characters in places you've been so you can describe the area? How important is it to you to have that reality, or do you use fictional towns so you can make up whatever you want about it?
Yeah, so I stick to real states, fake towns. So I like in the second book, they go to a town in Florida. It's made up. I'm from Florida, but I have always worried about when you use real towns in books, then people will say, wait, I live there. It's not like that at all. And so if you make it up, you have that freedom to kind of create whatever you want. Oh, they have a festival every summer? Of course they do. I made it up. You get that option. And so I do real states, fake towns always.
Okay. All right. And the characters in your books, are they based on real life people or you make them completely up?
There's definitely traits that I will draw. Like I would say in my second book, the female character, she has a lot of my actual sense of humor and my quirks, my anxieties. But I try not to, I will say I pull little traits. Like I have Easter eggs to my friends in the book sometimes. If one of my friends and I have an inside joke or a show we love, I'll plant that in there and I'll take that for my real life. But for the most part, I try to just make up the characters so no one's like, wait a minute, that's me, other than the likeness to my grandma and the character Jane in the first book. Every other character is pretty much just made up, but a lot of them are based on experiences I've been through, or like Whiskey Jane's. When I was young, there was a restaurant in Tennessee we used to go to, and that's the bar in the first book. And so at that place in Tennessee, you used to be able to write on the walls, and that always stuck with me since I was a kid, because what kid doesn't want to write on the walls? And so with my first book, that the bar that Jane owns, that Olive works at, you write on the walls there, and there's stories on the walls and names and dates. And so that I pulled from kind of a real experience, but everything else I pretty much just make up.
All right, your book 2 is You Can't Hurry Love. That's the title, right?
Yes.
Okay, and it deals with Ivy, Donovan, and Lee. Tell me about each one of those characters. Who are they?
So Ivy is a recovering hot mess. She owns a bridal store, and she's trying to get this old space that's falling apart put together so she can have this beautiful bridal store of her dreams. She is very structured and great about business, but in real life, she is an absolute mess, and her house is messy. Her love life is a mess, but she's trying to find love. And this book is a love triangle. So Donovan is one of the male characters in the book. He owns a fishing charter, and he also is a contractor on the side. He does a lot of fix-up improvements at spaces. And so that's kind of how they meet. He comes and does some work at the shop that she owns, and he's grumpy. He never smiles. He, has a chip on his shoulder. And then here comes Lee, who's the exact opposite. He owns a coffee shop. He's smiling all the time. He's blonde with blue eyes. He's, Mr. America. And so she has these two polar opposites now in her orbit, and she has to figure out what she should do. Should she go for the guy that's grumpy with tattoos that she would have chosen in the past, or go for the guy who is now, what she should want, what she should go for? Mr. America has it all together, very organized, all the green flags. So it's just her journey to find love.
When you're writing, do you set for yourself a kind of a target number of pages you want, or you just let it go until it goes wherever it's going? How strict are you on keeping the page numbers?
I'm not super strict on the page numbers. I just try to always do around 75,000 words. I feel like that's kind of my sweet spot, to be able to tell the whole story and build the tension, and then have, the main ending to the story happen the way I want. So that's between like 80,000 and 100,000 is usually where most romances will fall. And so I always try to stick in that. 75 is usually my sweet spot, where I can write what I need to and not have too many chapters and not drag it on for too long, but get everything out that I need to in the story.
Have you ever looked at a book that you've written and said, gee, I could have went into that a little more, or I was holding back because I didn't want to exceed too many words? Does that fit into your writing style?
So I definitely am somebody that will always look back and be like, oh, I should have changed this. Oh, I should have done this. But with my first book, if I didn't get it out there, I know I never would have. I basically had to tell myself, it's your first book, just write it and get it out, and then you can try to be, a perfectionist later on. But I did, with my first book, looking back, kind of wish I did include a little bit more of the romance aspect, because some people said that they missed that aspect. Even though it is a romance, it doesn't have spice, which is very important in this day and age. It was, pretty tame. And so looking back, that was the one thing I would probably change, is make it a little bit more va-va-voom. But the first book, it's still, it was all the story that I wanted to accomplish, I really did. So I don't have any crazy regrets about it. It was still the story I wanted to tell.
Do you go to bookstores and or places and sign autographs? of sign your books?
I haven't yet because my introverted side has been holding me back, but I actually earlier today have been emailing local bookstores getting prepared for my second book. So we'll see, but it's just one of those things where I need to push myself to do it and just rip off the Band-Aid. You know, you can't be an author without promoting your book. And so I have to do it. I know I can do it. I just have to have the confidence and the strength in myself to say, you know, you're just signing your book in person. Like, it's not the end of the world, but for every awkward author, it feels like it.
Well, I think that once you're there and you connect with your audience, your readers, you're going to absolutely love doing the in-person things. If someone wanted to, say, buy your first book, can they buy it directly from you and then get it autographed? Or can they ship you a book and have you autograph it and send it back? I mean, how does that work?
Yeah, so right now, I've only given out signed copies so far as like giveaway rewards. We've done a couple author giveaways together, indie author groups, and so I have not actually sold any of the signed copies yet. We have some local libraries, like the little free libraries where you take a neighborhood walk, you know, and you can pick up libraries out of the boxes. And I've dropped off my book, signing in some of those, just for someone to pick up and read. But for my second book, I'm definitely going to start having autograph copies where you can buy both books or just the first one or the second, because people have been asking me for an autograph copy and to buy it from instead of, you know, Amazon all the time.
Yeah. What kind of feedback so far are you getting from your various ARC readers? What are they telling you?
So for my first book, I have gotten really great feedback. I'm super grateful. I have had, you know, mostly all positive reviews. They have told me that, again, the movie felt like a movie in their mind. The book did, that they loved the music, that, you know, it made them cry, it made them laugh. It was better than they expected for my first book. So that was definitely a reassurance that I needed. For my second book, my ARC readers have not gotten it yet. They get it on November 1st. And so my fingers are still crossed with how everyone receives that one. But the day will be here before we know it, and I'll get their feedback then.
Okay. Is there any, in this upcoming book, is there any funny scenes that someone should look forward to? Something you can tell us behind the scenes?
Yeah, so there is a scene in it, without giving too much away, that is based off of something that happened to me while I was in the process of writing it. It's an incident that happens with a snake, and it happened to me in real life at my house. In this chapter, a snake is hanging down in front of the girl when she's in a shed in the back of her shop, and it almost falls on her head, and that happened to me in real life. I was exiting our garage to take my sons in the car, and I thought that there was a piece of like the trim from the garage door hanging down, and I was like, when did that happen? I just went through the garage. It wasn't like that. And so I get closer to it, and it was not trim hanging down from the garage door. It was a black racer snake, and it plopped down on the ground right in front of me, this far away, and I ran inside with my son screaming at the top of my lungs, and then it was in the garage. I had to call my husband. I was freaking out, but racer snakes are harmless. It left the garage and it was fine, but that happened to me in real life, and I was like, I'm writing about this. Anytime something ridiculous happens to me, it's going in a book. So
yeah, it's that's fascinating because you do draw on real life situations. So then when a real life situation like that happens to you, how do you assign it to which character is going to get it?
I will always put the stuff in my notes app on my phone is incredibly long and confusing. If anyone ever found my phone and went to my notes app, they would be so confused because it would just be 2 words like Ivy, snake, this, that. Like, nothing makes sense to anyone, but it clicks for me. I will randomly, while I'm driving, if my kids are in the back seat, I'll just sometimes zone out and, like, while I'm driving and think about storylines and ideas. And that's when I'll get my best ideas, is just when I have that silence in the car, when everyone's in the back seat, just relaxing after school, quiet, and it'll just come to me. If I let my mind sit, that's when I'll get the ideas. And I haven't, as soon as something happens to me, I'm like, oh, I know that's going to be that character. Oh, this character fits that situation. So I've never really had to sit and think on it. It just kind of is like immediately, yes, that's for that person.
I'm just listening to your voice, and I was thinking, if you were to do, or maybe you have, but if you were to do audiobooks, would you narrate it yourself, or would you want someone else to do it?
Oh, definitely someone else. I do not want to hear my own voice. I 100% would hire somebody else to do it. That's like my own personal torture, is to make me have to listen to my voice for 8 hours back, because I cannot. Even doing voiceovers for Instagram or TikTok videos, I'm like, oh, I don't want to hear myself.
You do a lot of stuff on Instagram where you film yourself.
Yeah.
How is that? Well, that's part of promotion for your books and such. How well do you enjoy doing that? I mean, and what gives you inspiration and ideas to do a Instagram video?
I usually, again, it's the same thing where I'll just be driving, or I'll hear a song or a sound, like a trending sound, and I'll just get the idea. It will just come to me. I never run out of ideas. That's not the problem I have, is having like writer's block, to where you run out of ideas. I have too many ideas and don't know how to get them out. And so I will just sit for a couple of minutes and be like, okay, I need to make something funny, something, that's relatable for a reader, that might be a situation with their husband or their books or something. And then that's what I will do. When I was little, I used to act. I was in all kinds of performances, and I did dance. So I've always been very artsy and theatrical. I used to act with an agent when I was 5 years old, when we lived in California. So I have no problem doing skits. I can usually think of them pretty quickly. It's just taking the time to do it, because I have 3 kids. So trying to promote my book around having 3 screaming kids is the hardest part for me.
Do you film them all yourself, or do you incorporate your kids to help hold the camera or do something? Do you do them all by yourself?
I do them by myself for the most part. I'll usually set them up with a tripod. There might be 1 or 2 videos. My daughter loves the camera. She loves to be on camera. But with the way things are now and like the safety, I haven't really wanted my kids on my author page. I want to keep their privacy private, and let them have a childhood without me broadcasting it online. So I have not included them in any of the videos, but for many of them, they have been sitting behind the camera on the tripod laughing while I'm trying to keep a straight face filming these videos. So if I'm filming something, they're in the room. I'm just like, please don't knock over the camera.
And how supportive is your family for what you're doing?
My family's super supportive. I am super lucky that my husband completely, if I tell him like, I need to write these chapters, I have this idea, I'm on a good roll, can you please take the kids outside? He will just go play with the kids outside for hours on the weekends and get them out of the way if I need that silence. I'm super lucky. I have all my anxieties and everything I will project onto him and be like, help, I'm so anxious. And he'll always tell me, you're fine, you're going to do great. He definitely calms me down. My friends have helped me a ton through this. Mm-hmm. I will text them all my crazy ideas and worries, and they always, help me find relief and feel better. And my mom is the first person I told before anyone that I wanted to write my book, my first one. I was like, I think I really want to write a book. And she told me to do it. She's like, why not do it? So I have always been super grateful that everyone around me has always been like, oh yeah, even, my family that doesn't read, they'll still buy the book too. So it's been super great to have the circle that I have.
Is there any one thing that you would change, since you have your first book, your second book's coming out December 2nd. As you look back, what would you do different?
I think I would have started promoting the book earlier. I was so new to everything. I didn't start talking about the book at all online until mid to end of May, and the book came out in July. And so now I see that authors, they really have to promote their books a long time in advance. You really have to grow that audience. But since it was my first time, I had no idea what to do. And so the second time around, I've worked with PR girls that are great. I have a street team this time, which is a team that promotes your books and they get early access to your arcs, and it's kind of like a relationship where, you get to build this friendship with your street team and with different readers. And so I have had this the second time around, which has been a really nice community that I didn't have the first time.
How hard is it to build a street team?
So I was very lucky this time because I just post, my ARC signups online on Facebook groups and on threads, wherever I can. And I actually got a lot of response this time. And so it was a lot easier for me this time around. And with the PR girls, they have an amazing team of Instagram influencers and readers. And so they helped me with my street team a ton. They made it amazing. And I don't think without them, I would have been able to do it. But just having that support has made this process a lot smoother than the first time along, where I kind of felt like I was flailing, trying to decide what to do with my first book.
Oh, wow. Okay. All right. So 2 books, Baby It's You, and then you have another book that's coming out December the 2nd. And it has already slipped my mind what the title was, but I know that it was named
Love, you're fine.
Yeah, I know it was named after a song. I was like, what was it? So you got 2 books about to come out. Where would someone find these?
So they're available. The second book is right now available for pre-order. You can pre-order it on Amazon. Mm-hmm. Both books are available to get on Barnes & Noble's website. Pretty much any retailer that sells books, Target.com, Walmart.com, all of them, they carry the first book that's out now. The second book, once it's available, it will be on all those platforms as well. But Amazon seems like it's what a lot of people use. They ship the books fast. It gets to you easily. People, I also do Kindle Unlimited, which I don't know if you're familiar with. It's for the e-readers and tablets and Kindles. And so I have had a lot of readers through there. That's been great to be able to do that as an indie author. That, if you have a Kindle Unlimited subscription, it's free. So it's I tell people, I'm like, it's basically free because you're just paying for the subscription, but you get to read my book for free. So that's been awesome to have.
Yeah, that is something that's different now. It's not necessarily a book being published on paper. There's so many electronic ways to do it now. Which makes it cheaper, easier. Is it easier for you to do it that way, to not have proving issues with print as opposed to digital?
So it's about the same for both. I think the formatting of the ebook was my biggest stress in the beginning, but I learned how to do it. So now it's really easy. I can format the whole book in less than an hour. But that was definitely harder for me to overcome, was trying to figure out how to format it for Kindle Unlimited and not have it get bounced back to me or, get flagged for the formatting or the lines, the spacing not being correct. So that was harder to overcome, but I will always do a Kindle option, an ebook option, and a print option for my books because I love to hold a physical book. I'll usually read a book on my Kindle, and then if I love the book, I'll buy it for my trophy shelf, my bookshelves, just to be like, I love this book, here it is. And so I do both, like, for everything.
Wow. Yeah. Okay. Well, Nicole, is there anything that I haven't asked you that we haven't covered that you want your readers to know about you?
I guess just my second book, my first book and my second book, although they are the same town, it is a different feel. My first book is a little bit more serious. There's some emotional stuff in it, some heavier issues. And my second book is a lot lighter. It's more of a romantic comedy. It has a lot more laughs and this, not as heavy of a feel. So the first book was kind of me working through the loss of a loved one and the therapy in it and everything like that kind of poured out into the paper. But the second book was kind of just me having fun and throwing out everything creative I can think of and making it, just silly, happy book. And so I would say that is different. If you like the first book, I think you'll like the second book. It still has my same sense of humor in it. If you like, kind of ridiculous jokes and things that you're just like, oh my gosh, how did that happen? The stories definitely have some of that. You're like, only this character that would happen to, So it will definitely keep you on your toes. I try to keep the stories flowing as much as I can. I don't want there to be any boring chapters for people. So my friends are always like, there's always something happening. Like I'm always like, what's going to happen next in the story? And so I pride myself in being able to make a story that's really engaging.
Wow. You did a fantastic job, and you're getting a lot of response from it. Your books are wonderful. Nicole, thank you so much for being my guest on my show.
Thank you so much for having me. This was so fun. I love talking with you and, getting to talk about my books. So it was great.
All right. We'll see you next time on The J. Michael Show.
Goodbye.